the meeting to order, please. Let's begin with a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To the agenda.
Shall we begin with the minutes of November 1st? Can we have a motion to accept for open discussion? Okay, Jim Doggett. And a second, please?
Sure.
Okay, and Trout. Discussion. Cheryl, I know you had sent in that you thought that the PowerPoint of the budget presentation should not be included in the minutes. I would tend to agree with that it should just be referred to.
Yeah.
The
agenda. Okay.
Anything else on November 1st? There being no further discussion, all in favor to approve them as amended to remove the PowerPoint? Jack, you gonna vote?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. That would be unanimous. Thank you. School board representative comment. Pam, do you have anything that, Pam is tonight sitting in for Tammy Mahoney as the school board representative. Welcome, Pam.
So we had a joint meeting with BudCom, the budget committee, and I believe most of you attended the meeting, so you were aware of what we covered. The superintendent presented his budget, and the district is creating a policy on vape pens.
On what?
On vape pens.
Okay, yep, the vape,
Way
yeah.
to inhale tobacco or other substances, so we're working on that. That's all I have.
Bless you.
Bless you. That's all you have?
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, that's sufficient, thank you. Now we're going to discuss budget preparation. First of all, you will all notice that you have a new fat sheet of 3-whole paper. That is the budget that was presented by the superintendent on the 1st, but they had omitted a couple of small items, primarily around athletics. So we made adjustments in the budget, and it came up to the same bottom line number. And this is the updated budget document. So you can take the one that's in your book and turn it into scrap paper, and this is the new budget.
Recycle.
Okay.
We had to replace all of the pages, not just the ones that were relevant to the articles?
I believe it's all of them. There are 19 pages for Bakey. There are 19 for Memorial, 26 for middle, 34 for the high school.
Looks the same picture.
Mine starts on page 11 for baking.
Really? Mine starts on,
The stack starts on page 11.
oh, that,
Mine starts at one. You must have got the defective one.
Oh, okay.
1 of 19.
1 of 19, are you missing?
No, I started with 11 of 19.
Okay, well, I will meet you in
Tammy's
the,
copy, and I'll have Phyllis make another one.
or I'll make another one before we leave, and, yeah, okay. Okay, so there's, yeah.
Is this, the only things that are included in this, the same that were in that email that was sent to us?
Yes.
Okay. Because I have notes on all of these pages,
Right,
so replacing them is not going to be
not gonna
that
happen.
convenient.
But what you could do.
But I can just add
You can
those
just make the
things.
changes,
Yeah,
yeah.
if there's nothing additional other than what was in that email.
Okay. Whatever works. Okay, so then you also have another page, a series of pages that I passed out that Phyllis prepared at my request, which are a list of the account segments that are in the budget. This one, it's 9 pages, it's a 9-page packet.
I did not get one
I
of
did not
those.
get that either.
Oh, you know what? The reason I didn't is because I only gave it to some people who requested paper, and it will also be online. So
Okay.
if you want it as paper, I'm happy to make a copy for you. But if you're good with it online,
This little time
via
is-
Google Drive, it will be there.
And what is it called?
It's called Account Segments.
What does that mean?
It's the numbers that correspond into the budget.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the function codes.
yeah.
Like
I was
13,
gonna ask-
16 adult education.
The subject codes, all that kind of thing, so that, because I found that that was something that for me was a missing. And we got our thing, so it's got the fund codes, the subjects, the grade levels, the location codes, all that kind of thing.
So it's on the shared drive?
It will be, I don't believe it is yet, because I asked her for it about 20 minutes before she left today.
I would like that on paper.
Okay.
yeah.
We can go into the faculty room and make a copy for you right afterwards. Okay. In addition, what we've got, and we have it on
Okay,
our Google Drive,
So for example,
and for some people, it's also in paper form to some extent. But in Google Drive, we have the format that Michelle had talked to us about back on October 12th, where she was going to have the whole breakdown of budget summary, and then you could push the arrow like under 1100, and you'll get a thorough breakdown of all the regular education, because that's what 1100 function is. And then if you break that down, you can get it by school, so you can get a lot of detail in that, in those, there are, I believe it's 7 different, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 different ones. 6 different options to look at. For a couple of people, I made copies, and anybody who wants them can have them. But I took the first couple of summary pages of the fiscal year 19 versus fiscal year 18 budget with the change, a summary page of the multi-year summary page, and the assumption there is that if you have those, that you can then look and see, go to the computer and look and see if you want more detail than that. But for those of you who might remember last year's budget book, our famous pages 95 to 97, which had the whole summaries, there's that type of presentation there that I've given you guys in paper. Or it's also by function. And we can do the drop down to see, for instance, if you're looking at salaries, you can see salaries, everything but health insurance. You can see benefits, you can see travel stipends, you can see things, or supplies, you can see by the school district and that kind of thing. So it will give a lot of detail that probably will help everybody dig in. Yeah,
Is this the thing that's called pivot table?
yes.
Okay,
It's a
so,
pivot table, and the thing is that you cannot look at it, you can't convert it to the Google Sheets, which I have on my computer right now. The Google Sheets don't give the drop down, so what you need to do is you need to look at it in Excel. What you can do is you can download it. I believe everybody here has Excel on your home computers, and you can download it as it is, and then you can copy it into your own computer, and then you can look at it on your Excel program.
And this is what you were trying to bring up on your PC?
It's what I was trying to bring up so that we could push some of those buttons and take a look at some of the ability to be able to do that.
Did you share that with us, or is it in the team drive?
It's in the team drive.
it's called pivot table for superintendent's FY19 superintendent's proposed budget.
I am, personally, I've had a chance to play with it since Monday. Michelle had a few things she wanted to tweak before it went out to everybody, but I wanted to be sure that, I understood it and that can work with it. If anybody has questions on it, I have a pretty good understanding of it. Michelle's also available, and she's kind of the source. But I'm very impressed with the level of detail that we can gather from that. And
You know what, this is nice, Sandy, excuse me, that this summary gives you a summary of total dollars as opposed to looking at several hundred items. Because I was trying to pull out the cost of substitute for professional salaries. It would take you days in that book. But that number always bothers the heck out of me because it was going up another $27,000.
so it's a good one to ask a question
Yeah.
about so we can dig into
Yes.
it. You know, anything that you have a question about like that, let's find out what it's about and why it's going up. I know there were some things that were going up like 30, 40% that we have questions on for next week of just understanding what's going on. Or there's some of them that are district-wide questions like that will be taken up on the 30th. So, you know, some questions will be coming up this next time, and then others that I got in that are district-wide, I put onto the district-wide sheet. And also special ed questions, because those are things we're going to be dealing with on the 30th. But in the meantime, I invite you to email me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to go and sit down with anybody who wants to, you know, who might be struggling with it. Or I'm sure that, you know, Phyllis would be available if I'm not, you know, if I don't have the answers for you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm on the team drive,
Mhm.
budget committee, 2018, 2019.
Yes,
I've got a timeline and I've got a budget process. Is
It's in budget
It's in
process.
budget, it's just gotta keep drilling down. All right.
okay,
Give it to the very bottom, thank you.
okay. So I tried looking at it. I got in touch with Bob Ficker today and said, "Ooh, how do we open this in Google Sheets?" No, you can't. So, you know, Google Sheets doesn't have a pivot table, so we've got to look at it in Excel. Okay? And Jack, the reason that I wanted to focus for, you know, on those summary pages was so that if you want to, then you can go into the you could go into Excel and look at it and drill down to see if there's some answers there, or if there are more questions.
Yeah.
So,
So is this considered the summary? This pivot table?
yes. The one, there's the one by function, which is, you know, that function sheet that we just got, that kind of delineates that. Then there's by object, which is the one that will compare the fiscal year proposed budget with the adopted budget from fiscal year 18, from the current year, and the dollars of change. And then there's, the next one is a comparison of the budgets from 16, 17, and 18, and 19. So and the fiscal year 17 actual is pre-audit, because the audit results are yet, so you know. But we've got 2 actuals, and then we've got this year's budget, and then we've got next year's requested spending for the budget. I'm reluctant to call it a budget proposal because we make the budget proposal, so.
So where on this, is there some kind of, you said there's a detail. If you click on something, you get detail.
If you put it, look at it in Excel.
I'm in Excel, yeah.
Okay, so, which one are you on?
Proposed budget by function.
Okay, so the first one. Okay, so if you click on the 1100, I think you'll see an arrow there.
Yep.
And you click on it, it opens up a whole bunch of information. Can I come and take a look?
Yeah. This you're talking about?
Yep. And then go over to the arrow and just see if you can click actually on that arrow. Huh.
It's allowing me to box, but there's
Okay,
no echo.
What are you looking at there, Mary?
okay.
Are you looking at this thing?
When it converted from
No,
Google
that's not
Sheets to
moved
Google
yet.
Docs, it
Oh,
must
it's
not have done that. I will email
I'm
it to
gonna get a
you.
paper copy.
I'll
Yeah.
email them to
This is-
everybody.
I
Probably
like
has to
this.
come
It's a
in
nice
Excel.
summary that is going on.
Yes.
We never
All
see
Straight
right.
from
Look at
Excel.
you.
Yes, I'll email it directly from Excel to everybody. Apparently putting into Google Sheets
Well, I-
eliminated that
downloading
function,
it,
so.
getting the
Good,
function.
we diagnosed an error and I'll deal with it. I'll get it to you.
Okay.
Is that's what your email was, saying that by putting it into Google Sheets, it voided out the drill down functionality?
And it voided it out even when you look at it in Excel again. So what we've got to do is, I've got to send it to you so you have it separately on your computer. The Google Drive is not going to be helpful for that. One of the reasons I asked for a computer today to look at these things is because that's what we're going to have to project up when we're working on our budget in December. Is we're going to have to, and we're going line by line, we're going to have to look at it in Excel. So my proposal to everybody is that we look at it on the screen together. And because one of the processes that we decide to use, thanks to your suggestion, adopted by the whole committee, was that we would go through the different subject lines line by line together instead of doing it independently to come up with our budget proposal. So we'll be doing that by using the computer, and I'll get this working for next time, or for by the time we're meeting in December for that.
All right, so this addendum will be uploaded by Michelle at some time in the near future, and you will route via email an Excel version of the pivot table that we can download to our personal devices with Excel.
Yeah, I believe that page that you've got right there is part of that Excel.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, that's part of the Excel. The part that Michelle is going to upload is the this one, these budget functions. So that's going to be there tomorrow.
Okay.
Or it won't be there tomorrow. If you want it tonight, if you want it to be able to look at over the weekend, we can go and make copies for everybody so that you've got it. And I will get the Excel version of the pivot table out to everybody tonight. Okay? Didn't know we were going to lose that
Did you get a
functionality
copy
by
of that?
going into Google Drive.
Because this is nice, because you can right away see what the account is.
So, anybody have any other comments, questions?
On the pivot table?
Well, on the pivot table and just the budget preparation, next point, any other points on budget preparation?
I'm looking at the copy of 2017-18 budget questions with responses. So it looks like some administrators have started putting in responses to our questions.
I didn't know that they had, but it's possible that they have. Okay.
Yeah, I see some from Steve Riley, from Mike Trammell.
Okay.
So my question is are they going to be, now that it's in Google Docs, whoever can answer that question, it looks like they're going to go in and put it in.
Yep.
So we should expect that these questions will be completed by the 15th?
Yes. On or before the 15th, and once they are completed, they will be put in our team drive. Right now, they're just in my drive, and I shared them with you so that you would see the scope of the questions. In case anybody's going through and you have other things that come up that, you know, you have curiosity about the elementary, middle, and athletics and technology, and replacement plans.
Oh, so that's not in our drive?
It isn't, no, I just shared it with you, because what Tom wants to do is he wants to upload it into the team drive once all the administrators have answered all the questions, once it's complete. So right now, it's a working doc.
So where did I just find that?
You found it in your shared with you.
Shared?
I opened it from the email, which brought me to this.
Oh, it was in the email.
Okay.
Can we, this is, I'm already getting very overwhelmed with so many documents and not knowing what's the up-to-date and where to find it. I would prefer, and I'd like to bring it to the committee, that when it's done, put it there and not keep revising it. Because then we have to go back and say, well, what's new? I don't remember, was this here, was there before? And adding new questions to it, I think is just going to make it way more confusing. We had a deadline to submit our questions. We submitted our questions. They have a deadline to respond. Can we just get one document when it's done? And then we'll know when it's done and we can look at it then and not try and figure out who's added what, when, where. It's just, it's already getting very confusing with having partial documents loaded in here and there, and it's not
What I'd
conducive to being able to make good decisions and really get the information you
What
need.
I'd suggest is that if you don't want to look at this document in between times, the option is there to look at it if you want to. If you don't want to look at it, just delete it.
Yeah, but how will she know when it's final?
She will, because it will be in Team Drive
Oh,
at that
jeez.
point.
All right, so you're gonna send stuff to us, and if we don't wanna look at it, we'll just delete it. Sounds good.
No, I won't be sending anything further to you. I thought that some people on the committee might want to know the scope of all the questions. So I wanted to make them available. Since I knew them, I wanted to share them with you. If you're not interested in them, that's fine. That's fine. And nowhere was it suggested that people add to the existing document, adding more questions.
I thought you just said that, if you wanna
No.
add stuff.
If you have other questions that you want to ask on these things, then I want to go through that process. But, I mean, my point was a period of asking questions. If something comes up and, you're looking at documents and you see something on elementary or middle school that you didn't see before, and it's just really something that you just need to know, then send it to me, send it to me. I would suggest that we don't use as a group Tom's form that he's got for submitting questions, because it's a little burdensome. And once it's submitted to him, it's submitted and it goes on his spreadsheet. So what I would suggest is that we all use, and see how this plays for you guys, but I'd suggest that we use the question form that you designed a couple of years ago, Cheryl, and just send me questions on that, citing, if you would please. Don't cite a page number or, the line number or something like that. Write down the code, the, 10-11- da-da-da. Just write down the code, because that's how it's going to be translated. That's how everybody's going to be finding it. That way we're not bound to go flip through our book and search down all the lines and find it. But I think that form worked very well for those who used it, for me to then take it, marry all the questions, and then submit them on Tom's form so that he and Michelle have it on their spreadsheet.
What is Tom's form?
Tom's form is the one that fed the Excel that you're looking at that you don't want to see, with the questions and how they're going to be answered.
So we're not using.
You don't even have that form, because I used it. I put it up initially on here, and then I took it off because I decided it was really going to be too burdensome for everybody on the committee to use, and it made no sense to use that way. It just made more sense to do it with me just putting them through for you. So, yeah.
I actually like the idea of the administrators being able to go in and see the list of questions and giving their input on individual lines.
And that's what they're going to be doing.
If we look at them prior to the completion date, the answers are supposed to be in for Thursday, but somebody goes in on Monday and answers
Wednesday.
Somebody goes in and answers questions ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to fault the administrator, but I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, that's got to be, they chiseled it in stone. No, they wrote it on a computer. They may come back and go, okay, another administrator said, yes, that flushes left something out.
It's a work in progress. You have the opportunity to look at the work or not, as you wish, and and to see how it all evolves. What really will count is what we have in hand on Wednesday. That will be their firm answers, and it will be, as I said, Tom Ambrose will be uploading that to the Team Drive when it's complete. So you'll find the completed one in Team Drive. If you're just curious about the process in the meantime, hey, have at it. Yeah.
The budget questions form is no longer accessible. It says, it's no longer accepting responses. Try contacting the owner of the form if you think this
Okay,
is a mistake.
that's for the November 7th questions. That's Tom's form.
Okay. That's not the one we're supposed to use, or?
No.
It was working the other day, so.
It was, because that's how on school board, you guys were all submitting your questions individually.
Oh, right, yeah.
On budget committee, we're submitting them as a group. We have a lot of questions, and sometimes they overlap, and sometimes they duplicate. And when they overlap, for instance, somebody might have a question about special ed and then have another one that's related or, probes in a different way. So what I do is I put those together so that when the administration is addressing
So
them.
there are two different portals, one's for the board and one's for BudCom, okay.
Mhm. And, that's what, when I talked with Tom, he liked it that way, so.
Yeah, well, he shut me out, so now I can't ask.
Oh, well, that's because he finalized that 11-7 form.
Right, yeah.
But he is putting out a form for the 11-30.
Yeah.
So 11-20, I think ours is due. So he's given me another form and I've started to populate it, but, it's by no means ready to, it's by no means finished.
So,
Well, I'm looking at the budget question form, and it looks like Sandy submitted questions on the form, and it was picked up on Google Drive. It was like she was editing the form.
I think that's from last year, those questions.
It says 2017-18.
Yeah, that was 17-18.
Yeah, that's last
Budget.
year, the next
Oh.
one, 18, 19.
And I erased that, I thought that it was off.
It's just that one, is it like an example or?
Yeah, I mean, treat it as an example, I did erase it, but, you will find that question form.
Oh, that's the Word form.
Yeah,
We
that's the word.
we should open it with Google Docs and then get rid of the Word form. Now that we have access to deleting things.
Right.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, I did take that out, but it's still there. Huh. Okay, so I'm gonna take it out right now. Okay. It's not sort. If I can find where delete is on this thing.
Right click,
Huh?
right click.
Nope. On my computer, of course, there's a delete button, so I don't see a delete button on
I have
this.
delete for everyone. You want me to delete it?
No, I'm not deleting the form, I'm just trying to delete the, if you want to.
I just made it in Google Docs. Remember when, if you download something in Word and
Okay,
our trainer said you shouldn't be using Word, you should be using Google Docs.
right.
So if you have downloaded from Word, then delete the Word one, so all you have is the Google Docs ones there.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you have already done that now for all of us?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
good.
in that drive there, where the question form was, it's now there in Google Docs. And it's a blank form.
Okay, good.
So if you then want to download it as a Word doc and
Oh,
work
there
it
it
on your
is.
own drive and then
Yep.
upload.
Okay, so I'm pressing the Chrome.
You following me there, Charlton?
Do you want to,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
do you want to delete that one, Cheryl? The other one that's in Word form?
I just tried to delete for everyone. Oh, yeah,
Okay,
there
I
it goes.
deleted it.
Yep, it went.
Okay, or you did. One of
It's
us.
gone.
It's gone. Yes, sir?
Yeah.
Cheryl?
Yes, how are we made aware when these questions are completed? And how do you get your hard copy, you know?
I'll make sure that you have them for the meeting, and if they're available before the meeting, I'll make sure you get them, okay?
Well, I don't want to have you have to do everything, Andy.
You know what, that's the way it's gonna work, so it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine, fortunately, I'm retired and I have time to
Yeah,
devote
but
to this,
that's-
and this is what I do, and so I'm happy to do it for you guys, I mean, it's fine, it's fine.
All right. Second question.
I don't have a lot of fishing to do.
Oh, that was low.
No, it wasn't even low.
that was actually good.
Shows how narrow my life is, I don't have fishing to do.
Okay, I have a question. This is gonna scare you. This is on page 18 of 34.
Okay?
Which school? Which
High school.
high school?
Not that it matters. But there's a note that says, cut as part of.
I'm sorry, what page is it?
18 of 34.
That's not this week's question, you know, right?
No, it's one of these other things. What are you looking at?
Well, it says, cut as part of budget reduction plan MC.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
What's
That
MC?
same question.
MC is the name of the person who did that,
Oh, well, who's that?
Michelle Croteau.
Okay, so did what? Took it out of the budget,
Removed it as
responsible
part
for
of
it?
the
What does it say that it was? It's a new budget request.
Cut.
So she's saying it was cut before as part of budget reduction plan, and they want to put it back in.
Well, they want to put it back in?
They want to put it,
That particular line item, which is the 25,899 that was for
Well,
athletics.
now I'm even more confused.
I thought they did cut it.
Yeah,
In the
I thought-
presentation.
So this year they want to restore it. That's what they're saying.
but I thought
They want to put it back
but
in.
in the presentation there the other night, when we met with them, that's all cut. Right? Hang on here.
Just like that.
Yeah, the ice hockey
Middle
and,
school, in the high school, and the high school, and the middle school one has the high school ones as well.
But this is equipment. This isn't for, wait a minute. New budget, I'm sorry. It's
the teams.
Wait a minute. New budget request.
yeah, here it is right here, Annie. It was the
Sorry.
input not included in proposed budgets.
It is not included. I'm sorry. I apologize. I was looking at the wrong line. I should have had it in
Okay.
front of me.
So you're saying that even though these are on the page that he's looking at, 18 or 34, they have new budget requests, but it's not carried over, is that?
Yeah, it was cut out of the budget. In our summary sheet, when Superintendent Ambrose went through the whole
Right, this one right
budget,
here, right, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And
yeah, this
he said about requested things for
Yeah.
athletics.
Right.
And there's the detail on it of what
Right.
was requested. It's the same one as was on there last
Okay.
year, was
No,
cut
it's
out.
cut, okay, now, I'm sorry, just reading it, cut as part of budget reduction plan, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
was interpreting that as
Nope.
the athletic equipment that was cut last year being restored, and so I should have looked more carefully.
And what is district freight?
That's a good question.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to understand it.
That has been zeroed out on every single line.
Yeah, I don't even know what it is. It's probably something that's mandated by DRA or something.
Who keeps on putting this hockey request in?
Well, that's one of our questions that's for next week is, why do you do that when the voters turned it
Right.
down?
Not only that, but when that committee, I understand, it came in front of the school board, they asked if they could use Salmon as the ice hockey name. And Jim, were you on the school board at that time? And you were, and they said that they'd never come back looking for money, and they tried it last year, and
I know, and it was rejected,
Yeah.
and now it's requested again. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just one of these things
Yep.
that they keep asking until somebody forgets and says, okay. You know, it's.
Probably.
It's the Jan Bennett philosophy of funding. You keep asking them.
I don't, we don't want to.
Well, she said it.
That's true.
Madam Chairman, I do have a question. Has everything been migrated from launch?
What?
Has everything been migrated from launch?
Yes, it has.
Okay, because I'm not finding the staff listings that were,
the staff, what, Jim? I'm sorry.
the staff list, it says, Jack Kozak, teacher, middle school, English, $180,000 a year plus $90,000 in benefits.
That's a pretty good salary there, Jack. I want that job.
Yeah,
Yeah, not bad, huh? I think you'll find that under Budget Committee fiscal year 17-18,
Well, that
In-
has last year's.
yeah, well, that's where it was. That's where the answer came in, was in last year's questions. So if you look at the thing, Budget Committee questions, and then we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the different dates and things like that, and the professional staff agreement, and professional staff cost items, and I think you'll find all that kind of information that we got last year in this section. The budget questions of the different dates and the answers, they're all there. And it's all under fiscal year 17-18.
Oh, okay. I was looking forward to.
Excuse me.
Yeah, you won't find it there, because now we have a new year and we got new questions and stuff, but you can always refer back to old questions. Those did migrate
Well,
over.
That list shows, I mean, it shows Blake as the superintendent on that list.
Who was that?
Are we gonna get an updated roster with salaries and
We
what?
haven't asked for it. Nobody's asked for it.
I thought I did when we spoke the other day, but that's okay. I will officially ask
We-
for it.
I guess I would ask, why?
Because it's supposed to be published according to warrant.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in the annual report.
Yeah.
Is it in the, I haven't looked at the annual
It
report.
it hasn't, not been in the annual report probably
Hasn't.
in a year and a year.
Well, I know, but this year's annual report,
It wasn't,
it wasn't in there?
No.
Okay, that was a warrant article, absolutely.
yeah.
So, I mean, if that's something that you want, then ask for it. As a budget committee,
Okay.
we're not going to impact that in one way or another, you know?
No, it's just, it's one of those things, because there are things that show up on that list, like the additional stipends that certain people get that are on that list, and it's the only place you find them.
Okay.
Excuse me, is that information also going to be accessible through the pivot table when it's restored and routed to us?
It is not.
Last year's data? No?
It doesn't have the breakdown of every position and what they earn and what their benefits are. No, it doesn't. It has a summary of them. And anything you want to ask about that you think that we should consider as a budget committee, you can certainly do. Anything that you want outside a budget committee, you can always ask the administration for. I've found them very open about supplying information. You know, I would just push back a little bit on having a staff list for budget committee, because we're not going to be making any staff changes. You know, we're not going to make decisions on who gets and who doesn't and stuff like that.
Right, however, if you remember last year, I had major concerns about $30-something thousand worth of stipends that were issuing between travel, cell phone, what have you. They're not detailed on any of these pages. It's all up there under regular education staff, regular education salaries vacant. Someplace in there is some. I have not found it on the pages.
And
That's one of my questions that are coming for asking for detail on that, Jim. The who, what, where, and how.
okay, so basically what I'm hearing you say is that you want a staff list with what stipends, waivers. Well, we can't get waivers because we can't get that because it's HIPAA. But what benefits they have.
You can't get the waiver because of HIPAA, but they don't,
You can get a total of waivers, you can't get who gets a waiver, no. You know, what employee has what health plan? No, we cannot have that.
but the waiver is they're getting a stipend for not taking the health insurance.
Right,
But that still falls under HIPAA?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, it's basically none of our business whether they take health insurance or they don't, or which
But
plan
everybody,
they take.
but everybody gets the same amount,
If they have health insurance supplied some other way.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So we
But I
should
mean,
know what
that's just- That's not any of our business. you
But we should
under
know what
HIPAA.
that amount is.
We could
Right,
get a
yeah.
total amount of waivers, and it's probably in here in some way as we,
As I remember in my notes, I didn't look from last year, but I had the amount that the employee gets for a stipend.
so if those are things that you need to know, then ask the question. Just submit it on the form, and I'll send it in. Jim, if you want the staff list and how you want it, what kind of detail, then please just send it to me, okay?
So that number is huge.
The number of staff.
The amount of money that people receive in the school district for not taking health insurance, what's it under,
It's not as huge as if they did take health insurance, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot less than they're taking health insurance. It's part of their contracts that they get to have a waiver if they don't elect health insurance. It's just, we're not going to change that in any way. I mean, we have no impact on that. We have no impact on whether they have, we can ask whether they have something covered under their collective bargaining agreement or under a contract. And if it is, then it's not an optional expense. It's not something we get to do anything about.
No, I understand that. This when they get the negotiation of the next contract, that's the only time that could be changed.
To make your voice heard, but
Yes,
not as a
yeah.
budget, not necessarily as budget committee. Exactly. Exactly. And I'll look through here too and see if there's one of these things that has stipends, but other kinds of stipends or travel allowances and such, and if that's under there.
There's some place.
Per employee, then you gotta ask for the list.
Okay, yeah, because I was just gonna say, I have it in my paperwork from last year.
Okay.
It was a fairly wide spreadsheet, and the only thing that was missing was the health insurance column was blank.
Right. Okay. So, just send in your thing that you want it, and we'll ask for it. I would make note that last year, obviously, we had turnover in administration. And in the last several months since our new administrators took over, they have had to, without a lot of notes, without any written procedures, or how things were done, or anything else. It was all kind of in the administrators' heads, and especially for Michelle. And some of it, she's had to investigate to figure out what was done, how it was done, whether it was done, whether there should be some changes made, whether there are other ways to do it that would be clearer or better in her opinion, because she's the business administrator. And so she has spent a lot of long, late nights kind of recreating the wheel in the district. And I'd ask us to kind of work with them to ease some of the load. We need to ask the questions that we need to ask in order to prepare a budget, certainly. But let's try and keep it from being things that we don't need to prepare a budget, that we're just curious about. And, maybe wait till after budget season and get it privately. I don't know, take that however you want to do it and whatever feels right to you. But that would just be something that I think is worthy, in my opinion, of consideration. Kind of tough. Kind of tough when you got a whole new people in, doing the whole thing. So, big learning curve. At the same time, they're trying to really present a conservative budget. So, it may not be conservative enough. It may be too conservative. We'll come up with that as we debate it and come up with what we think. But in the meantime, the starting point's pretty darn good. So,
This is interesting. If I'm looking for, and this happens to be DJ Bakey School, it says stipend $4,500 under 51130. And when you look at the summary, it says 51120 is professional salaries.
okay.
So it doesn't really say stipend, and I'm assuming they all rolled into one, or there's other dollars in there besides just a stipend.
Right.
Yeah.
The 51130, from what you're reading,
Yeah.
is is that travel allowance, did you say?
No, it doesn't say.
Okay,
Just
some
a
sort of
stipend. Yeah, it
allowances?
just says $4,500 for stipend, that's it.
Okay. Okay.
Probably a car allowance, because that number sounds familiar. But when you look at the summary here, it doesn't say stipend, it says other professional salaries.
Okay. I think we actually have someone who asked a question
no,
about other
professional
salaries.
Yeah.
Asking for more information on that. But,
Yeah.
What are they?
Yeah, I was trying to find those numbers the other day, and it was all over the place.
You may find it's a lot, that this pivot table will help a lot
Yeah.
to dig in and to see some of those answers. Or maybe you'll just still have questions. However it works. Are there any other comments on the budget process? Cheryl, you look like you're about to say something.
Well, kind of on that same thing that Charles pointed out, where in this book, it says that something was changed by Michelle, yet it's still listed there. So it said these were cut, those requests for new athletic programs, yet the dollar amount still appears here. So there's another one.
But the dollar amount is not in the budget. It was cut.
Right, but then it should be a negative in the book.
So why is it put in here, what we're looking at?
I think it's for full disclosure that goes so that it marries with the introductory sheets that the superintendent gave us on, here were requests, here's what we didn't do. And so when you marry the two, you'll see, okay, there's the request that wasn't put in the budget.
So if we went and added all these numbers up, it would not come to what
No, not if you add in the budget cut.
So this is excuse me,
Cut out, so the things that were cut out of the budget, the note won't be in the bottom line.
So I see one here that was, something was added.
Okay, which,
Memorial School, page 3.
yeah.
Books, regular program. Notes, increased budget to amount requested by principal, $15,539 to meet student needs. Yet when you look at dist amount, it says $6,338. So
Yeah.
should that not be $15,539?
Yeah, that would be the correct total. that's
This to
proposed.
me is very confusing.
Okay, it's,
If it's added, why don't they put it in where it says dist amount? What does dist amount mean? Maybe I'm not understanding that.
yeah, and it's possible, and I'll bet, and I don't have it with me, but I'll bet if I look at last year's budget and the replacement plans, I'll see that 6,338 in there for the replacement plan, and instead they're asking for 15,539. Now, personally, I had a question on that. Why, when we have Chromebooks, do we have to increase the cost of books? I just want to know, why? But, this is the same format that our previous business administrator had been using for years. This is just an inherited format. She's using the same thing for consistency. It may change a lot next year, but right now, she's just using the same format she got that was used before.
But doesn't she put the numbers in here?
She does. But in the past, the numbers were put in the same way. For instance, that amount of money for athletics was put in as a plus and just cut from the budget proposal. I mean, it's the exact same thing we've had in past years for presentation.
So when we get the summary, we're going to see previous years on those amounts. So, and it's going to have the percentage change from last year's adopted?
The percentages, Michelle told me she has not been able to make work yet. So we don't have percentages. We have dollar amounts, but we don't have percentages. The dollar amounts are in red if they're a negative, and they're in black if they're a positive.
And is there going to be, were there any changes, like if last year it was in technology, but this year they decided to put it in the buildings?
There haven't been any changes.
There hasn't been any change, okay.
Good question. We've certainly had that in the past, but it hasn't happened this year. Yes, Jack?
Andy, you said that the same format was used last year, but I don't remember seeing stuff like athletics and so forth that says cut from the budget.
It
Cut
was.
from what budget? The hockey wasn't in the budget last year. Do you know what? So to me, it's saying, it really, it's a false number because it was probably proposed by the athletic director, but, so it's in her budget,
Right,
correct, so it never went forward.
right.
So it's kind of like the same thing that previously did. They had a budget, and Dr. Blake put it together and came up with a number. But I don't remember seeing that in the paperwork last year. Maybe it was there, I don't.
It was there, I
yeah.
remember it, so it was there, and sometimes it was pretty confusing. I think one of the things is because this is all that you had for the first week, and you didn't have the pivot tables, you probably are, looking at it a little differently than last year. So it's, I think having the pivot table now, and it would be nice if we'd had them in reverse and we had this afterwards and we had the pivot table first. I think they've tried their best to give it to us in a timely manner, and it was the best they could do.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, they moved it up a week or so from what we had last year, which was moved up 2 weeks from what it had been the prior years, and starting with reinventing the wheel. I mean, it's really quite remarkable that they got all this done. So, in my opinion. Anything else? So I guess in summary, I'd just like to ask that any further questions that you have about anything, if this, now having the pivot table, opens up questions on the things we're going to be discussing on the 15th, I don't think that closes the discussion for us. So any questions that you have about anything, please use that question form that those of us who've been on BudCom in the past are familiar with that one. It's pretty simple. Please use the budget code as opposed to a page number or anything, because it'll help me to do the other form. And, if you're going to put one thing in, you may as well put in something that's going to be what's going to be the end result. And get those to me, anytime that works for you. I will be putting them together on the 20th. Okay? Any questions on that? Does anybody have any other suggestions of anything that we need to do, or? Good.
So between now and the next time we meet on the 15th,
Yes.
in the joint meeting,
Yeah.
are we gonna start looking at high school, special ed facilities, district-wide stuff? Or do you want us to continue to focus on elementary, middle athletics, technology, and replacement plans? Right up until that meeting on the 15th?
No, you can look at any, I'm done with
Right.
looking at elementary, middle, so from my standpoint, I'm done looking at those. I'm already looking at high
It's
school.
just if something perks as a result of what we're looking at, we can submit them as an afterthought.
Right, yeah. I mean, I would say, just because I know the door closed on this thing, we will not be adding to the sheet. But you are welcome to add, questions at any time. Submit them on that budget form, and I'll put them together, and I'll communicate with Tom. If we have a bunch of questions that all of a sudden come in on the elementary or middle, I'll ask him if he wants those, or if he would rather defer them. The other thing is, I'll make a list of what they are, so that when we're meeting with the elementary principals and the middle school principal and the athletic director, that we have those questions. You can ask them then. I would think if they have the option, they'd rather see them ahead of time so they can prepare and not say, oh, I don't know. I'll ask Tom how he wants to handle it. Okay?
Annie?
And I would say also, just, if questions come up as we're going through, and if you look further and you see something that comes up after November 30th, we have another, several weeks that we're going to be preparing the budget. If there are things that you have that are questions that you need answers to in order to be able to vote on a budget, ask them. Just use that form. I'll get them in.
Where do I find that form? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's in Drive.
Are you
Tammy?
in Google Drive?
Yes.
Okay. So in Google Drive, fiscal year 18-19 budget process.
This is right here, I guess, yep. Click on that.
Open it up.
And down here I have the budget and whatever. But I don't see any, is it in the folder?
See a question form?
No.
Should be at the bottom. Budget question form, Doc.
It says budget question form dot docx.
Is it this? You don't have it as a list, you've
Timetable.
got it as folders.
Is it in the folder?
Click on
here?
the folder right there, yeah,
Okay,
there it is.
Oh, yeah, okay,
questions.
there it is. Okay.
got it?
Yep, I'm sorry, thank you,
okay,
thank you.
okay, everybody good with that?
Yep.
So he should download that form, or when he fills it out, if he fills it out here, it's gonna be saved right here.
Yeah, download, that's a good point, Cheryl, good point. Yes, download it, fill it in. You can put it on my drive and share it with me if you want to, and I'll get it.
Okay.
Or you can email it to me. Anyway, either one will work for me. Basically, I'm gonna work off of it and, do the other forms, so.
We have access to your drive.
Pardon me?
We have access to your drive.
No, you're my
Oh,
On
drive.
my drive.
Okay.
You own my drive. And then you share with me,
Yeah,
shared
I
with
see
me.
the shared with me.
Yeah, but as opposed to sharing it with everybody on the budget committee, you probably don't want to do that. 'Cause
That would
it's
be
not
team
necessary. Everybody doesn't need it. Okay, we good?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You gotta find where the minutes again, or the agenda. Find it. So much fun to be in this new thing and figure out what you're doing, right? How about you, but I'm having a real blast with it.
Are you being facetious?
A little bit.
Change is always hard.
Yeah, change is always, we are up to public comment. We have a member of the public. Do you have a comment? Okay. Then there's no public comment. Committee comment. Does anybody have anything further to say? Yes, sir.
Just letting you know it won't be official until tomorrow.
What
Newton's tax rate.
is coming out?
Yes. School portion went up 39 cents.
39 cents.
The town portion went down 20 cents
Okay.
because we captured a lot of additional valuation through our reassessment last year.
Ah,
I dread to think of what, if we hadn't, what the school portion would have gone up.
we all voted it in as a group, so, we have to pay for it, right?
I just figured I'd let people know. I haven't heard anything from Kingston yet.
I know that the tax bills are going out late. The challenge again was
Yeah.
at the school, because they've been trying to do everything and get caught up and make it all happen. I know Michelle stayed up till about 1 a.m. getting that finalized with the DRA. She's really been working hard. I am so appreciative of the two of them coming in the way they have and doing the work that they've done. It's been a huge challenge, and I'm also very thankful for the school board for hiring them. We ended up with people who are not just placeholders, not just kind of sitting there saying, oh, well, it's been done this way before. They are actually digging in and looking and working to improve everything that they can about the schools. And gosh, isn't that what everybody wants? I'm just very thankful for them. A lot of work.
The only question I have is if the district completed its paperwork enough to submit to DRA,
Mhm.
I am guessing that the audit should have been completed, because otherwise that would really,
My information on the audit is maybe a week old, so it could have been by now. I know that Michelle that day, when I talked to her, had some questions and answers going back and forth with the audit company, so maybe it is complete. That may not be accurate information.
so
to
at
give you.
some point we'll be able to get the end of the year unexpended fund balance and all of that information.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what it was.
Well, it's very interesting seeing the, you know, 39% increase when there was no end of the year shopping spree.
Right.
It makes me wonder,
What happened? What changed?
well, why we're seeing the size of increase that we are, because quite honestly, they should have had $1.25 million, almost $1.5 million left at the end of the year.
What I heard was, I know that we've been spending at the rate, because you know I track the latest 12 months, and we've been spending at the rate of 32 million, and we have a 32.9 budget for, you know, outside of the special revenues. So that's about 900,000, and so that would be 900,000 that would be left over. And then Matt Angel, who was interim before Michelle was hired, said that in a finance meeting that I attended, the school board finance committee meeting, that it looked like we had maybe $100,000 more revenue than had been anticipated. So that should be about $1 million. I don't see the $1.5 million. Or $1 million.
The million covers the budgetary increase.
More than.
Yeah, well,
But that's, yeah, right.
you know, that's, in my mind, I'm going, okay, with the information I have from last year, would have expected, when I see the June 30th finals, is that it would have basically been enough to cover the increase. So, you know, why is... But then again, last year, Kingston's, in the previous tax bill cycle, Newton's went up 90-something cents and Kingston went up like 22 cents.
Valuation.
Well, yeah, I just would like to see those numbers.
Yeah, I think we all would like to see the final year end when it's done and see what that is. So that's a good one. Let's put that down. And it's probably something that's going to be uploaded pretty soon on our 12-month rolling 12-month information, but we don't have it yet. So, or not that I've seen. I haven't necessarily looked because I've been looking at other things. Anything else anybody has? Committee comment? Okay, there being none.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody.